Hello everybody, hope you guys are enjoying your day. Today we're going to be looking at a multi-day severe weather outbreak over parts of the Central Plains, parts of the Great Lakes, and then also into parts of the Northeast by tomorrow, and also into Sunday. You'll still have some severe weather impacting parts of the Northeast. We're going to be going over your Storm Prediction Center forecast, the model guidance, and much more in today's video to give you an accurate look at what you could expect throughout the next couple of days in terms of your severe weather. Now, here's your current National Weather Service page, and we have some heat advisories in effect for parts of Oregon and California, and then also for western parts of Florida, we have some heat advisories for some temperatures that could exceed 90 or even 95 degrees in some locations, and especially over parts of California and Oregon, potentially even over 100 or 105 degrees over the next couple of days. So definitely some very warm temperatures for parts of California and Oregon, and also for parts of southern Florida there. Now here's your Storm Prediction Center forecast page, and we actually have a marginal risk in place for parts of anywhere in this green, slight risk in place for this yellow region that goes from eastern Colorado to about northwest Pennsylvania, and then we have another enhanced risk area for eastern Iowa to about southern Michigan there. Now we have a 2% chance of tornadoes within this green area, and a 5% chance within this brown area, and we also have another 5% chance throughout parts of central Colorado. Now we're going to mainly be focusing here throughout this area, and not really for parts of the ones in Colorado there. So here's your wind outlook from the Storm Prediction Center page, and we have a 5% chance in that brown, 15% chance in that yellow, and a 30% chance where you had the enhanced risk. We also have a 30% chance of wind damage there. And then we have your hail outlook, 15% chance from western Michigan to about eastern Colorado, and we even have a hatched area, a significant hatched area, where you could see 2-inch diameter hail or greater within that area. So here's your day 2 outlook, and this is when it's going to start to impact parts of the Ohio Valley and the Northeast. We have a marginal risk going from west to east here, from eastern Colorado to about Massachusetts there, and then we have a slight risk in place for parts of New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, even parts of West Virginia and Ohio there, seeing a slight risk. We have a 2% chance of tornadoes in parts of northern New Jersey, southwestern parts of New York, and then into eastern parts of Pennsylvania, and then for your wind outlook, we have a 5% chance in that brown and a 15% chance in that yellow. And I wouldn't be surprised if they actually update this, which they do frequently. You can go to spc.noaa.gov to get the latest forecast, because they do update this fairly frequently. They update this about 2 or 3 times a day if it's really an active day. So definitely something that you want to look at frequently throughout the day to get up to date information. Now, your hail risk, we have a 5% chance anywhere from, again, Massachusetts to about Colorado there. So here's your day 3 outlook, and we actually have a marginal risk in place for parts of the Northeast, really everywhere in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic and Eastern Ohio Valley, except for parts of Central and Northern Maine. Everyone else there is in a marginal risk of severe weather. In your probabilistic forecast, we have a 5% chance for all those same areas that were in a marginal risk there. So here's your simulated radar from the NAM3CAM model, and we actually do have some fairly potent storms, and this is basically where we're at right now. We have over southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois. We're actually seeing some fairly potent thunderstorms currently going on as I'm speaking right now, and these are going to head their way further and further to the east. It's really not this first band. This is really just going to actually weaken these storms that are ahead of it, because it's kind of using up all the energy around it, and the atmosphere does have to kind of refill that energy in time to get these thunderstorms to really blow up by the time we hit the afternoon and evening time. So as it's starting to move over Lake Michigan is when it's really going to start to develop. You actually see kind of a hook there. That's a very strong cell, and if this were on the actual radar, now this is your simulated radar, definitely not going to be exactly like this, but if you were to see something like this on the radar, that's where your tornado would be, right where my mouse cursor would be, kind of right in this area, and then you would have very strong winds ahead of this very heavy rain, and then you would start to see a hail core start to develop, where you would actually start to see fairly large hail move through parts of Wisconsin, Illinois, and Michigan there. So This starts to move further to the east, breaks up, and then you start to see a west to east line of thunderstorms that starts to develop. Usually, you see something from some lines that go from northeast to southeast, or kind of some different variation of that, where it's kind of on an angle. This time, you're actually seeing a straight line of thunderstorms. For the most part, you have some variation within that, but overall, southern Michigan, northern Illinois, even southern Wisconsin, could be impacted with some very damaging thunderstorms, and then that starts to move further to the east. Now, this is your initial wave, and these thunderstorms ahead of this for the northeast are really going to eat away at what that thunderstorm potential. So you're not going to have as great of a thunderstorm potential as, say, parts of the Great Lakes have today. But for tomorrow, you could potentially still have fairly potent thunderstorm potential, especially over parts of southern Pennsylvania, parts of northern New Jersey, and even parts of southern New York. Really, where you don't see these daytime showers, where they're not going to be using up that energy ahead of the storm, that's where you're really going to have some pretty good chances of seeing some thunderstorms. Now, your main area of where you really want to be focused on is right here. This is your lead band of thunderstorms. This is kind of a nuisance heavy rainfall or heavy downpour there, but over further to the west is where most of your thunderstorms are going to come from, and you start to see throughout the day. You don't really see too much on Saturday, and then you start to see this one band that starts to develop over parts of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and that would move into parts of New York, and we'll have to see if that really develops like this. The NAM 3cam model really deviates quite a bit, so we'll have to see whether this will be kind of this hook shape, and again, you would see most likely a tornado somewhere within this if this were to happen. Not saying that it will happen exactly like this. Many of these models are fairly bad at forecasting what type of thunderstorm you're going to see. For the most part, over parts of Pennsylvania, southern upstate New York, you're going to see some pop-up thunderstorms and showers, but it's really going to be over eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and into New York, or southern New York, where you're going to really want to focus in on whether we can see this a big band of thunderstorms to really move through, and that would cause some pretty potent thunderstorms and showers throughout parts of New Jersey and New York there. So here is your cape ahead of this, your convective available potential energy. Now, with your daytime thunderstorms over parts of Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, you don't have too much cape with them, so they're not going to be eating away at too much of that energy that's in the atmosphere. So you don't have too much of it to eat away at. So when the cape starts to kind of fill in this map throughout the day, that's when you're really going to start to see these thunderstorms pick up. So this would be by the evening time on Friday, and it's very unusual. Well, it is a little bit more usual throughout the summertime months, so this is when you would see this, but it's fairly unusual to see your cape values of about 4,000, 3 to 4,000, all the way through Missouri, Iowa, and even into southern Wisconsin and parts of Illinois. That's fairly far north for these very high cape values, and that's because of an upper level low bringing in some of this warm, moist air. And here you start to see, as those thunderstorms start to develop, they kind of eat away at that cape, and then you start to see that cape really dissipate in those kind of little pockets where you have very little cape surrounded by a lot of cape. That's where you actually have those thunderstorms developing, and you can kind of tell where they tracked because of the signature on that cape value. And then as we get into tomorrow, you start to see that cape start to replenish over parts of Ohio, West Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, southern upstate New York. That's where you're starting to see cape values of over 1,000, which is usually the benchmark that you want for some decent potent thunderstorms. You really need 1,000, and if you want a really good thunderstorm, you usually want about 2,000 or so. And you start to see again that signature of where those thunderstorms are and where they're kind of located and where they've already tracked, and then you start to see potentially by Sunday, which would be your day 3 outlook, you have even more cape throughout that area, and the NAM 3cam model doesn't go out far enough to actually show this, but we do see quite a bit of cape, about 2,500 to about 3,500 throughout much of these areas. So that would actually be quite interesting if we do get some thunderstorms to pop up throughout that area. Now, Here are your dew points, and this is showing you how moist the atmosphere is. Now, something I want you to notice is that we have these dew points ahead of all this moisture that's that's just about within the mid 50s, even the low 50s in some areas, low 60s for many. Usually, you want above 60, and definitely you would like above 70 for some very very potent thunderstorms. And and for the start of the day, we actually have only in the mid 50s, low 50s. So that's not really sufficient. But what you're actually going to see is this map starts to fill in with some of those 60s and 70s. And you see within the matter of about 4 hours, you're going from being dew points in the 50s to having dew points in the 70s. So that is very, very high, especially for these areas. So that is actually going to help fuel these thunderstorms. And something interesting that you can actually see on this is you can tell where these thunderstorms were by the signature they actually have on the dew points. You see where these lighter areas are? That's actually a signature of where these thunderstorms were, and that's showing where they actually tracked from. And you can kind of see that's kind of your signature of the wind pushing through. So that's actually an indication that you have some fairly strong straight lines winds with these thunderstorms, especially over northern Illinois, northern Indiana, and northwest Ohio. And then as we move into tomorrow, you actually start to see those mid 60s, upper 60 dew points, even some 70s pop up over parts of Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia there. And we actually do see some potent thunderstorms start to eat away, and you see that same signature to a lesser extent with these northeast storms. And then for your day 3 outlook for Sunday, you actually have even higher dew points throughout the I-95 corridor. So definitely it'll be something interesting to see whether we can actually see some potent thunderstorms to develop over the next 2 or 3 days. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.